Challenging myself to read 25 books in 2025. And here's a rapid fire run through of 7 books I'm making sure that I read this year. First up, The Wolf Age by Tore Skaye. This is a historical saga that takes us deep into the Viking era in the 10th and 11th century and medieval Europe, covering the battle of supremacy over the North Sea. In this book, we'll encounter political intrigue, epic battles, and we'll also be introduced to a lot of legendary Viking figures like Harald Hardrada and Aethelred the Unready. Skaye masterfully paints a vivid picture of Viking society and its impact on Europe during medieval times, such as exploration, trade, as well as their impact to change on warfare. I love Viking history. If you love Viking history, this is a must-read for you in 2025. Next up, Genghis Khan and Making of the Modern World by Jack Weatherford. Weatherford details how Khan's leadership and innovations not only built the largest empire in modern history, but also revolutionized warfare and trade, being credited with establishing the Silk Road, a key trade route that facilitated trade between Asia and Europe. This book reveals the surprising ways that Khan and his empire influence persist in modern society today, from military tactics to global commerce. Moving on, one of the books I'm most excited to read in 2025, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee by Dee Brown. Brown explores the history of American expansionism in the American West during the late 19th century and its devastating impacts on Native American tribes. Brown covers significant events such as the Wounded Knee Massacre of 1890, which marked the symbolic end of Native American resistance to white American imperialism. Brown's work here is notable for presenting the history from the perspective of the Native Americans, highlighting their displacement through forced relocations and years of warfare waged by the United States federal government. I think this is a really important read and one that I'm extremely excited to get to in 2025. Next up, we have How Europe Was Underdeveloped by Walter Rodney. This is a critical examination of the exploitation of Africa by European powers and the lasting economic and social consequences of colonialism. Rodney provides a detailed reconstruction of pre-colonial Africa's developmental condition and contrasts it with exploitative practices of European colonial regimes. Rodney highlights how European powers, specifically Britain, extracted resources from Africa without providing fair compensation in return, leading to economic dependency and underdevelopment of the country that we see today. Next up on my list for priority reads in 2025 is a standalone fantasy by Simon Jimenez, The Spear That Cuts Through Water. Jimenez provides an intricately woven narrative that blends mythology, adventure, and explores themes of identity and fate through his storytelling. There's a really compelling tale with extremely developed characters and a really well built out world that has seemed to captivate all of the readers who have reviewed it. This is one of the few fantasies I have prioritized for 2025. Really excited to get to it. Next up is a thick boy, Bloodlands, Europe Between Hitler and Stalin by Timothy Snyder. Snyder, as some may know, is the author of On Tyranny, has an extremely well-researched book here in Bloodlands that delves into the atrocities committed in Eastern Europe during the 20th century while Hitler and Stalin were in power, provides a pretty sobering look at the impact left by the totalitarian regimes and the millions of people that suffered at their hands. Snyder provides a profound look back at the carnage that was done by these two men. And it really is a study on human suffering and how the human race can be resilient in the face of unimaginable horror. And last but certainly not least, Nuclear War by Annie Jacobsen. I've pretty much listened to this entire book through her own words via podcasts and other videos. But Jacobsen goes pretty high up into the government and uncovers the frightening realities of a potential nuclear war. She discusses the timeline of what a nuclear war would look like and how the span from beginning to end is just 72 minutes. And then what's followed by that is what some would argue is even more devastating event, nuclear winter. Jacobsen takes the readers into the secretive world of nuclear weapon development at the highest levels of government and the ongoing threat that they pose to global security. Pretty chilling book to read, but extremely necessary considering nuclear war is one of the most pressing issues of our times. I also forgot to add Destiny Disrupted, A History of the World Through Islamic Eyes by Tamim Ansari. Pretty much a must-read for any history reader, but that's also on my list as well for 2025. These are the books that are the top of my list to read in 2025. If you've read any of them, let me know your thoughts. If you think I should remove or add any other ones, let me know in the comments below. Appreciate it. Happy reading.